Hey, AvidMax Fly Tyers, and welcome back to another Fly Tying Tuesday. My name's Brady, and today we're going to show you how to tie this Blindside Midge. It's an awesome little pattern, great wintertime bug, or throughout the season when you have those midges around. Pretty simple pattern, just kind of a built on the Pat Dorsey's Miracle Midge with that silver line bead and some added materials to make it pop a little bit. So that's the size 18 we have here. We're going to go ahead and tie one up. And we'll get our hook set in our vise. This is the Tiemco 2487, longtime favorite, great standard hook, curved bend with a down eye, and then we have the midge size silver line glass bead on there. I'm going to start my thread. This is just a 14-aught Vivus in the gray. It's a good color for this pattern. You can play around with some other variations as well, but we'll start off with this variation. So the first material we're going to throw in is a little bit of our copper wire in extra small, and we'll just go ahead and secure that right on the side and lock it in place, and then we can walk on down to the rear of our hook and create a bit of a thread base. The main body of our fly is just a thread base for this pattern. Pretty simple one if you've been tying midges. You may have done the Mercury Midge, the Black Beauties, all that kind of stuff. That's, you know, a great place to get started, and then tying something like this is a great way to elevate that tying game a little bit. So I'll go ahead and half hitch my thread there and get it out of the way on the bobbin cradle so we can bring our wire on up. And just some nice open wraps for that segmentation. Use my hackle pliers to get a grip of this small wire. And just keep a nice pressure, making sure that that's nice and tight right against that thread body. And once we sneak up right behind the bead, hackle pliers will keep that taut for us. And we can go ahead and capture that off. Snug it down as we do so. And then I'm going to walk my thread just back a little ways, a couple of hook eyes rearward, and spin off that excess wire. So from there we're going to add just a little bit of dubbing. This is one of the added materials on top of the Mercury Midge. Mercury Midge, you could kind of finish that off, do a little bit of gray dubbing, and you'd be all done. But I'm going to use this Ice Dub UV Pink. I saw this pattern in Fly Tyer Magazine, and this was the variation that they had in there. And go ahead and do a real small dubbing noodle. Don't need a whole lot of this. We're just going to do a quick little hot spot of sorts. Just a nice little dubbing bump. And if you fish many tailwaters or midge-rich rivers, this is a great little pattern to have at the ready. So we got that bump in place. The final material we're going to add is some of this pearl in white. This is a great little wing bud, wing casing. Just kind of adds a little flair to the pattern, some movement, all those good attributes. And I'm using one of the smaller gauged, right up from the top of the plume for this small pattern. And I clip the tip, and I'm just going to tie that in right behind the bead. Go a couple of thread wraps back and then forward here, and then we can go ahead and palmer that right around the top here. You can kind of use your finger to keep it in place as you go. And I always sort of tease these ostrich fibers rearward as I go. So we'll go 3 or 4 times around, just kind of creating some nice fluff right up there behind the bead. Kind of a brittle material. You can break this off pretty easy, so something to be aware of there. And once we're happy with how many wraps we had, we'll sneak our thread right around it. Capture that in place. And then make sure it's secure and clip out that excess. And then all we got to do is give her a little whip finish. So really solid little midge pattern. Something a little different than you might see fished, at least here in Colorado on the South Platte. The Black Beauties and the Miracle Midges are so popular. They work great, but if you need something a little different, this will add a little variety and maybe fool some of those pickier fish. Great little fly in tandem with an attractor. You can fish it under a weighted nymph rig, under an indicator with a few of these, different sizes, different colors in those months when midges are so important, or just as a, a trailing bug in your multi-nymph rig. Definitely a nice little bug to tie up and have at the ready.